the investment process that pension funds, for example, undertake with their members' assets, environmental factors like climate change can actually be quite influential over the long term on investment performance. Social factors like workforce conditions or whether you've got women on boards and these sorts of factors can also be influential on corporate performance and therefore on investment performance. So ESG is about making sure that as an investor, particularly a long-term investor like a pension fund, you are having a proper look at all of the factors, including the environmental, social and governance factors that could influence your investment returns. My organisation, ShareAction, has been doing a lot of looking at the biggest asset managers in the world and the biggest asset managers and pension funds in the UK to see who's doing a good job on ESG investing and who's really making sure that they look at where these factors are influential on investment returns. And I would say that what we've identified is some of the best performing pension funds and asset managers, and a very good place to look at best practices, just look at what some of those schemes are doing. So for example, amongst the automatic enrolment pension funds in the UK, we think Nest is doing a really good job. They have an excellent policy on responsible investment and ESG investing, and they're making sure that their asset managers are following that policy. They monitor that very carefully. So one useful thing to do is to go and have a look at what Nest is up to. Another scheme that's doing very well in the UK is the Environment Agency Pension Scheme. They have been for about 10 years doing a really close examination of how environmental factors, social and governance factors can influence their investment returns. Their investment returns are excellent. They've been well rewarded for their very focused approach to this, and they have strong policies that any trustee or any pension fund member actually who's interested in this could go and have a look at. So I would highly recommend just going to look at what those schemes, those pension schemes who are good at this are doing and learn from that. So the barriers are very varied. So one of the barriers is that the information provided by companies on their environmental, social and governance performance can be quite iffy at times and variable. Some companies produce fantastic information, other companies say almost nothing, so it's very difficult for their shareholders to make a good assessment. So the data quality on environmental, social and governance performance is quite variable, and that is a real barrier to looking at this properly as an investor. And then there are more kind of top-down barriers, so like some pension schemes have got trustees who are very confused. They think that this is a sort of form of ethical investing, that it's not so much about financial performance, but it's more about whether you think that, a low carbon future is an ethical concern. So there's kind of a lot of confusion, unfortunately, amongst some trustees and pension schemes about what they need to do, what they should do, whether this is actually an appropriate thing to do to protect their members' assets from a financial point of view. Helpfully enough, the Department for Work and Pensions has just introduced new regulations that provide some very helpful steer and guidance on this. So that's going to help a lot with some of those barriers. Most useful thing to do is just to go and have a look at what the best performing schemes and asset managers are doing. ShareAction ranked and published a ranking of the biggest asset managers in Europe to assess which of them are good at this and which of them are less good. That's a very helpful, simple guide to what good practice looks like and how you can get started on your journey. And so I think there's so much learning that can be done just on a peer-to-peer basis, and that's probably the simplest place to start.